Hello, Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. This time, I'm undertaking a complete renovation of a dining kitchen and a living room. I'll be replacing the kitchen cabinet, ceilings, floors, and the next living room. The same flooring will be used from the kitchen to the living room. I will begin with the demolition. This is my house. I built this house when I was young, despite having little money. It is 40 years old, built in 1982 when I was 26. I thought I could just finish framing, leave it for a couple of years, and work on the interior when I had the time. I enlisted the financial help of my relatives and just went ahead with the construction. However, the winter of 1982 brought a lot of snow. I was working on another new building and cutting timber at that time. However, due to the heavy snowfall, the lumberyard could only mill 5 to 6 pieces of timber a day. As a result, 5 or 6 carpenters were waiting, but we could only get 1 or 2 pieces of timber each day. So I figured that since the frame of my house was already constructed, I could begin the interior work throughout the entire winter. That was a mistake. Everything was built quickly, and the plasterer and other artisans came and finished the building. Since I was short on money but the house was finished, it was hard to pay the bills. But thanks to the fact that I built my house early on, I was able to pay off my loan. Since it is my house, I will handle everything myself, from demolition to everything else. The demolition can be done by reversing the process. It means demolishing the last job you did first. Cockroaches are always found in the kitchen, dressing rooms, and bathrooms. Once, when I removed the ceiling in a dressing room, 50 cockroaches fell at once. I was on the verge of fainting. I'm not fond of cockroaches, so I was lucky to have just one this time. The house has hardly been renovated in 40 years. I have only replaced the floors in the entrance and hallway. The bathroom and the kitchen have not been renovated. I think it is quite a long time to leave a house as it has been without renovation for 40 years. My wife often asks me, when will the kitchen be renovated? When will the bathroom be renovated? In the end, the kitchen came first. I finally decided to motivate myself and tackle the task. I'm now demolishing my house. It's rare for someone to demolish a house they built themselves. Somehow, I don't feel good about demolishing a house that I built myself. As I demolished it, I could see the roughness and the corners that were cut. Since it's my house, I couldn't afford to build it slowly, so I had to speed up the work and make it faster than I could build any other house. So the roughness is obvious. This is strange, but while removing the boards and furring strips, I still remember putting it together 40 years ago. I don't remember what happened yesterday, but I remember much of the past. I smoked cigarettes for 20 years and quit when I was 40. I was still smoking 14 to 15 years after the house was built, so the walls and ceilings became very stained. I wiped them down at the end of each year, but the stains on the ceiling couldn't be removed at all because it is textured. 15 years of smoking have left the ceiling grimy. Even though I quit smoking, it's stained, and 15 years of dust have accumulated. When When demolishing the ceiling frame, I cut it in half in the middle. This is the safest and easiest way to demolish it. This method is truly easy. The biggest advantage is that it doesn't damage the surrounding area. If it is not cut in half and remains long, the surrounding areas can be scratched. Because of this, I find it easier to cut the ceiling in half in the middle. Next, I remove the tiles that are the least noticeable in the kitchen. The tiles are ones I chose when I was younger because I thought they were beautiful. However, I have complained about this color for 40 years. My family members don't seem to like it. I thought it would be a beautiful color that catches your eye when you enter the kitchen. But they kept saying, "What a lack of taste, it's unbelievable." I'm finally free from their complaints. The tiles are sticking hard to the lath backing. In the case of the bathroom, the wooden frame absorbs moisture due to humidity. If the wood is rotted, the staples will not work. Tiles can be easily removed if mortar is used. This time the wooden frame wasn't damp and it was solid, so it was hard to remove the tiles. It took quite a bit of work. It's not only the demolition that is hard, but also the cleanup and trash separation. I have to avoid mixing the concrete and wood. Separating into garbage bags takes a lot of work. After demolition, I remove the nails. If you have a demolition company do it, they will not remove the nails, so they remain. Also, the dust is not wiped off. Since I'm doing it myself, I first demolish from the top, leaving only the floor. Then, I will remove the nails and clean up the higher areas on top while the floor is still there. That way the mud plaster won't fall. I clean from top to bottom. Next, I demolish the column and the mud-plastered wall, which is today's main course. The dozashi is 3.6 meters long. 2 columns are installed between the dozashi. Fortunately, the dozashi is made of a large pine, which is 270 millimeter wide, so even if one of them is removed, the strength of the other is sufficient. Before that, I'll ask God to move aside. In this instance, I would like to renew the kamidana. One side of this wall has the frame exposed and the other has a sand-coated wallboard. In such walls, I remove the frame from the back and remove the wall from the back. That way, the wall can be easily removed one by one and sand won't fall. This is a very easy way. I remove the kamoi and the nageshi. Nageshi is a tie beam running above the kamoi. It is like a kimono belt for a Japanese-style room. I cut it with a saw to make sure that I remove only this part. If you remove them as they are, the surrounding area will be damaged. Actually, I did not expect to demolish the Japanese-style room. It was challenging to build it. The sawmill had no dry wood, so I had to dry the kamoi myself. I actually installed it before it completely dried. I wanted to use an authentic nageshi made of solid wood. However, it can cost the same as 4 to 5 nageshi, which is bought off the shelf, so I chose the cheaper option. Nageshi is the only part that uses the building material with a wood grain pattern in this house. Now it is all stained. Next, I demolish the mud-plastered wall. First, I remove the diagonal braces. Because the diagonal braces are on the front, the wall frame can't be cut without removing them. One diagonal brace will be unusable, but it's fine to install it on the other side of the wall. I first demolished the wall. This wall has electrical outlets and switches on both sides. I can imagine it was a demanding task for electricians at that time. After the frame was installed, they had to install wires between the bamboo before the wall could be plastered. Because of this, the wires cannot be removed without demolishing the wall. It is a troublesome wall. For the wall frame, there are 4 tie beams like this and bamboo called mawatashi between them, which are joined on notches on both sides. They are woven with straw rope. It is very heavy. To avoid shattering as much as possible, I cut it into 3 sections. I cut only the part where we removed the wall with a circular saw that I haven't used for a while. It can be used if I charge the battery. It is not easy to cut bamboo by hand like this. I cut it into 3 sections to remove the wall. It can be done because there are 2 of us. Even though I'm cutting it into small pieces, I could not carry this alone. I remove the columns. I cut them in the same way. Some people only cut the amount of tenon's length and pull it out. That would be fine if it were very easy to remove, but the general way is to cut at the top or bottom. I cut it so that it leans toward the direction I want it to fall. Otherwise, it will not move. The crown molding and the ceiling of the Japanese-style room will remain, so I carefully and meticulously demolish this part. At last, I remove the floor. The floor is finished with 2 to 3 millimeter cushion flooring installed on top of a 12 millimeter plywood underlay. This flooring looked nice when installed, but after 10 years or more, the surface deteriorates and shrinks, which is not good. It has held up well for 40 years. It is difficult for one person to remove the plywood underlay. The board keeps springing back into place when using a large crowbar. This often strains my back. I had back pain when I was younger and had to take months off. That vacation allowed me to study for my architect license and pass the exam. However, we should not underestimate removing plywood underlay because you need great force to do it. It is easier if done with 2 people. After about 4 times lifting up, it will come away. This time, I'm going to remove the dining kitchen floor, including the frame. I will even remove the sleeper. This is because the ground is weak and the center of the house has sunk. The thick central pillar and the columns next to it were all lowered by about 15 to 16 millimeters. So I will fully renovate it to level it. Especially in the kitchen units can't be installed if the floor is not leveled. So I will remove all the frames. As you can see, I'm only using a large crowbar for demolition. I also use a small crowbar. When we build, we use various tools. But for demolition, we can demolish in a little over a day with only one large crowbar. This large crowbar is very useful. I am impressed. At last, I carefully remove the sleepers. I'm going to reuse this wood. It is a kind of red pine, which is a foreign timber that has become hard. It is cracked quite a bit, but it is not rotten at all. The same wood is used for the sill. The creosote we used then is really working. However, when the creosote got even a little bit on my hands or face, I got a crazy rash. Only this one sleeper did not come off easily. I notch the side, move it sideways, and then remove it. Finally, I removed the floorboards of the Japanese-style room, which are made of 15mm thick cedar planks. In this room, I will reuse the joists as they are. I will install the floor on the joists while adjusting it. Now we have finished demolishing the rooms. It's back to 40 years ago. It is nostalgic. I was cutting corners a bit 40 years ago. Next time, I will install the new floor, walls, and ceiling. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.